Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite a detailed piece of source material in front of us today, an investment research report, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty dense. Our job, like always, is to sort of break it down, pull out the key insights for you.
Make it understandable.
Exactly. And today we're diving into, well, a really interesting part of the decentralized AI world, Bittensor Subnet 1, also known as Apex, and the company behind it, Macrocosmos.
This is basically your shortcut, right? To get your head around what could be a pretty significant player in the whole Bittensor thing.
That's the plan.
So the report basically frames SN1 Apex as like aiming to be the top dog, the go-to decentralized place for conversational AI and these more complex agentic tasks.
That's the ambition, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but the report stresses it's not straightforward. There are some, significant technical hurdles, market challenges, things you definitely need to be aware of.
Right. And why should you, listening now, care about this particular subnet?
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? Why are people building these decentralized AI platforms anyway? What problems are they trying to fix compared to, say, the big centralized models?
And what makes Apex special? Or at least what does it claim makes it special?
Precisely. We'll get into the tech, the team, who they're up against, the competition, and, importantly, the risks and potential rewards. We'll try to speak directly to you as we go through this.
Okay, let's unpack this report then. What's the basic idea behind Subnet 1?
Okay, so at its core, Bittensor Subnet 1, which Macrocosmos runs, is trying to solve a fundamental problem.
Yeah.
How do you get consistently high-quality, reliable AI conversations, at scale?
Without the usual issues you get with centralized control.
Exactly. Things like lack of transparency, potential bias, maybe censorship, and what the source calls those annoying hallucinations.
Yes, where the AI just confidently makes stuff up. The report definitely flags those as issues with current big models.
Right. So Apex uses this competitive decentralized model instead. Think of it maybe like a marketplace for AI smarts. You have miners on the network running these sophisticated AI agents, LLMs. Then you have validators who create tough tasks for them. Complex thinking, multi-step reasoning, pulling accurate info from the web.
And the validators score the miners' answers.
Yep. And that score determines how the network hands out the TAO token incentives. It's all designed to reward the quality of the AI's output, not just, churning out text.
And the source says their main goal is pretty big. Create open source intelligence that could actually beat the proprietary guys in some areas.
Yeah, and also be a sort of gateway for new people coming into the whole Bittensor ecosystem.
So the value proposition is kind of layered.
It is, according to the report. For miners and validators, it's straightforward. Earn TAO by contributing good compute and models. For people using it, say, through Macrocosmos' Apex chat or an API.
They get access to decentralized AI, potentially more open, less censored than the big tech options.
That's the pitch, yeah.
Something that really stood out to me reading this was the focus on agentic workflows. This isn't just like basic chatbots.
No, definitely not.
The report really emphasizes AI systems that can actually plan, use tools, reason through complicated steps. That feels significant, a step beyond just Q&A.
It really does position them, or at least aims to, at a more advanced level of AI based on the source. And there's this powerful synergy described too. SN1 isn't just for end users.
Right, the data generation thing. The report mentions SN1 Apex creates millions of high-quality tokens daily, and that data gets used to train models on another subnet, Subnet 37, which Macrocosmos also runs.
Yes, this is a really key piece from the source. This internal data loop, SN1, generating good training data that feeds directly into improving models on SN37 that could be a unique edge.
Because they're improving their AI using data made within their own verifiable system.
Exactly. The report suggests that could be way more efficient, maybe higher quality than just grabbing external data, which might be, well, less reliable. It ties SN1's success directly to value created elsewhere in Macrocosmos' pipeline.
Okay, so the tech must be pretty clever to actually ensure this high-quality, less hallucination output, especially in a decentralized way. How does a report say it works under the hood?
Well, the core idea is that both the miners and the validators are themselves AI agents, LLMs. Miners make responses, validators make and score tasks. But the real secret sauce, according to the source, is in their specific validation methods.
Tell me about those.
The report breaks it down into three main types. Inference, multi-step reasoning, they call it MSRV2, and web retrieval.
Okay. Inference is like standard Q&A?
Pretty much, yeah. within a given context. Web retrieval is interesting. The miner actually has to go search the live web, find relevant stuff, and give you the source along with the answer.
And MSRV2, the report described this two-stage thing that sounded pretty novel.
This is where the report really highlights something potentially groundbreaking.
Yeah.
MSRV2 is built specifically to test reasoning and actively discourage making things up. So, stage 1. A miner gets a complex task, generates an answer. Stage 2. That answer then gets sent to other miners on the network. But now, those other miners act as discriminator.
Okay.
Their job is to score that original response. Basically, judge it. Was it accurate, well-reasoned, or just made up?
So kind of like an adversarial peer review system built into the network?
Almost exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The discriminators get rewarded if their score matches the actual truth. Was the answer right or fabricated?
Yeah.
And the original miner. They get rewarded based on what all the discriminators collectively decided.
Huh.
The report calls it an asymmetric evaluation pipeline. The argument is this MSRV2 setup creates this really strong incentive to be truthful and logical because it's costly for miners to just fake it.
That specific mechanism. Yeah, that sounds like a key piece of their proprietary tech based on the source, essential to their claims of high quality.
It really seems to be. The report definitely flags it as core to their strategy, building this internal market that rewards truth and reasoning, not just speed or quantity. They also mention validators using role-playing to create more realistic prompts, another way to get good data and really push the miners.
What about the practical side? Like, what hardware do you need to actually be a miner or validator? Does the source get specific?
Well, the report mostly points to general Bittensor guidelines here. Powerful GPUs, think high-end NVIDIA cards, lots of VRAM, good CPUs, plenty of RAM, fast storage, especially for miners running big models. Validators need less compute, but solid internet.
And you use the standard Bittensor tools?
Yeah, the CLI, and probably a specific client or SDK from Macrocosmos for Apex. But, and this is something the report explicitly flags, there's a lack of really detailed specific hardware requirements just for SN1 Apex,
Okay.
which is noted as, potentially making it harder for new people to figure out exactly what they need to get started.
Okay, so the tech is complex, innovative, got these unique validation methods. What about security? Has all the sophisticated stuff been independently checked, audited?
Right. This is a really critical point the source material hits on multiple times. There's a pretty big information gap when it comes to independent security audits, specifically for SN1 Apex.
Meaning?
Meaning the report says there is no evidence, no mention anywhere of any formal third-party security audit done on the SN1 Apex codebase or those unique incentive mechanisms like MSRV2 that we just talked about.
Wow. Seriously. For what they're positioning as a flagship subnet, with all this complex, unique tech, the source finds no public independent audit.
That's what the source material indicates, yes.
Yeah.
Now, the underlying general Bittensor protocol might have had some reviews or some overall network security scores might exist somewhere.
But that doesn't cover the specifics of SN1, their unique code.
Exactly. It doesn't cover the nitty-gritty implementation of their MSRV2 or their specific data generation pathways. The report flags this quite strongly as a major due diligence concern. Without a full public audit, the risk of hidden bugs, vulnerabilities, potential exploits within SN1's own code and incentive system, it's just unquantified.
That feels pretty fundamental, especially if Macrocosmos wants businesses, enterprise users, to use products built on SN1. Enterprises usually demand that kind of security proof.
Absolutely. The report points out that, yeah, they connect to other Macrocosmos subnets, maybe external platforms, so their security depends partly on those too. But the core SN1 engine itself, the part driving everything, it's missing that public independent verification that would give real assurance.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From the internal workings to the outside world, what does the report say about who they're competing against? What's the landscape look like?
It's crowded,
Yeah,
intensely competitive, and moving incredibly fast. The report puts them right at the intersection of decentralized systems and AI, aiming specifically at conversational AI, running LLMs, and these new agentic AI platforms.
So the usual suspects are competitors, OpenAI, Google.
Definitely. The report names OpenAI, Google AI, Anthropic, others. These centralized giants, they have huge resources, pop models, massive user bases, the whole infrastructure. They're direct competitors for basic LLM inference. And they're pushing hard on their own agent capabilities, too.
They set the benchmarks SN1 has to aim for.
Right, they're the performance bar.
Yeah.
And then there's competition within Bittensor itself.
Ah, yes. The subnets compete with each other, too.
Exactly. The whole ecosystem is designed that way. The report mentions subnets like SN19, which also does inference. Now, SN1 might send some tasks to SN19, collaborate in that sense.
But they're also competing for the same inference jobs within Bittensor, fighting for TAO rewards and people staking capital.
Yes. And the report notes it's relatively easy to spit up new subnets, so new internal rivals can pop up pretty quickly.
Any other decentralized AI platforms outside Bittensor mentioned as competition?
Yeah, the source brings up a couple. There's Nanda, which has backing from MIT and Open Growth, focusing on sort of foundational rules for AI agents working together, and Sahara AI, which the report notes is well-funded.
How much?
$43 million, according to the source. And they're building a whole decentralized AI blockchain platform, top to bottom, with its own marketplace. So direct decentralized alternatives. And then there's another type of competitor, the source flags, maybe less obvious, specialized AI agent marketplaces aimed at big businesses.
Like who?
Companies like ServiceNow, Salesforce, they're centralized, sure, but they're building platforms offering curated AI agents that plug right into existing business workflows.
Ah, so that shows there's strong demand for this agentic AI stuff in the enterprise world.
Exactly. And SN1 Apex, through Macrocosmos' products, has to compete for that market. They need to offer comparable enterprise features, reliability, and hopefully show why their decentralized, verifiable approach adds value.
Okay, that is a lot of competition. Different kinds, different places. So how does SN1 Apex actually stand out? What's the unique value proposition according to the report?
The source boils it down to this: providing decentralized, high-quality, hallucination-reduced agentic LLM inference, powered by their unique validation stuff, especially MSRv2, and also being this engine producing valuable synthetic data, particularly for training on Subnet 37.
And being the flagship subnet for text AI helps too.
Absolutely. That recognition within Bittensor is key for positioning, attracting people, getting visibility. The report actually used the VRIO framework, valuable, rare, costly to imitate, organized to capture value, to analyze if they have a sustainable advantage.
Interesting. How did the source apply VRIO to SN1 Apex?
Well, it argues several things are valuable and rare. That unique MSRv2 mechanism, the specific expertise of the Macrocosmos team, knowing both advanced AI and the Bittensor network inside out, and that flagship brand rep within the ecosystem.
And costly to imitate.
Yeah, replicating the actual working scaled system of their mechanisms. Plus, finding a team with that exact mix of AI and Bittensor know-how, that's seen as costly to imitate.
So that mix gives them a potential edge that could last, according to the report.
Potential, yes. The report stresses it really depends on them constantly innovating and Macrocosmos being organized enough to actually use those strengths effectively. The TAO incentive itself isn't unique compared to other subnets, obviously, but it's fundamental to how they operate. What the source really hammers home is that the hard part for competitors isn't just copying the idea of their algorithms, it's copying the functioning ecosystem they've built, the active network, the fine-tuned incentives, the smooth integration with other parts of Bittensor and Macrocosmos' other subnets. Managing that whole complex multi-subnet thing is seen as a major organizational strength that's genuinely hard to copy quickly.
That makes sense. It's the whole package, the execution, the network effect, not just the algorithm on paper. Speaking of Macrocosmos, how does the report say they actually plan to, make money from this?
Okay, so Macrocosmos has this hybrid business model based on the source. Part one is tied directly to Bittensor itself. As the owner of the subnet, Macrocosmos gets 18% of the TAO tokens SN1 Apex generates. Plus, they can earn more TAO if they run their own validator nodes.
Standard subnet owner stuff.
And
the other part.
That's the commercial side. And this is really crucial for the long run. Macrocosmos is building actual products using SN1's power, things like their Apex chat app, an API for developers, other tools like Mission Commander and Gravity mentioned in the report.
So selling services directly.
Exactly. Generating direct revenue, hopefully that's separate from the TAO emissions, could be API fees, subscription, service charges. The source calls it a SaaS Plus model, aiming for recurring revenue.
So earn crypto from the network while also building a more traditional software service business on top of it.
Precisely. And the report really emphasizes this diversification is absolutely vital. Why? Because TAO emissions in Bittensor follow a halving schedule, like Bitcoin.
Meaning the rewards decrease over time.
Right. The built-in protocol incentives get smaller and smaller. So
Yeah.
for SN1 Apex and Macrocosmos to be truly sustainable long-term, the source argues they have to generate real economic value that actual users, actual businesses, are willing to pay cash for. Value that exists even when the TAO rewards shrink.
So the success of Macrocosmos's commercial products is key.
Pivotal, according to the report. Absolutely pivotal for the subnet's long-term health.
Seems like a smart strategy, bridging the decentralized tech with real-world business.
It is, but it also brings up a tricky question the report touches on. If people can access the core AI of the network kind of for free, or just by using a tiny bit of TAO, why pay for Macrocosmos' specific products?
Good point.
The report implies the answer has to be added value. Macrocosmos needs to provide stuff on top, maybe enterprise features, reliability guarantees, SLAs, support, or just a way better user experience. That SaaS Plus idea suggests the plus is really important. Continuous improvement driven by the subnet's power.
Let's try and use the report's SWOT analysis framework to kind of pull this together. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yeah, good idea. So for strengths, the report highlights the innovative tech MSRv2, the agentic focus, their flagship status in Bittensor, the experienced Macrocosmos team with that niche Bittensor expertise, the data loop feeding SN37, the potential for direct revenue from their commercial stuff, and being aligned with open source decentralized values.
Okay, those sound like solid strengths. What about the weaknesses the source identifies?
Several key ones. Top of the list, as we discussed. The lack of that specific public independent security audit for SN1 Apex's own code. That's critical. Also mentioned, unclear specific hardware needs for newcomers, the system's overall complexity, and the fact their major rebuild was fairly recent, January 2024.
Meaning the new setup is still relatively young.
Yeah, it shows they can adapt, but it hasn't been running at massive scale for years and years yet. And finally, the report notes the dependence on Macrocosmos itself, SN1's fate, is pretty heavily tied to how well that one company executes.
So, real potential, but clear red flags too. What opportunities does the report see?
Big ones. The whole AI market is exploding, obviously. There's growing demand for decentralized AI, driven by worries about big tech's control bias, censorship, etc. Macrocosmos could expand its products into new areas, maybe partner better with other specialized Bittensor subnets, attract top talent. And the huge potential for businesses adopting decentralized AI if they can prove it's reliable and secure.
And the threats. Feels like we covered a lot of these already.
Yeah, the competition looms large. Intense fight with the centralized giants, other Bittensor subnets, other decentralized projects. The threat that AI tech just moves so fast they get left behind, constant need to innovate. TAO price volatility is a big external threat, affects the whole ecosystem.
Regulations too.
Definitely. The changing global rules for both AI and crypto create a lot of uncertainty. And, always, that persistent risk of undiscovered security flaws made worse by the lack of a public audit. And the SWOT analysis in the report, it really connects these things. Like, that missing security audit isn't just a weakness. It directly impacts the opportunity for enterprise adoption.
Because businesses need proof of security.
Right. The report implies without that audit, getting big companies on board is going to be tough, limiting a potentially huge market for Macrocosmos.
Connects a technical weakness directly to a business threat.
Exactly. And their strength in innovation is their main defense against the threat of becoming obsolete. But the report notes that takes continuous, heavy R&D investment by Macrocosmos. The January rebuild shows they can do it, but they have to keep doing it.
The report also used PESTLE analysis, political, economic, social, tech, legal, environmental. Quick hits on those.
Sure, political. Governments everywhere are looking harder at AI and crypto regulation. Geopolitics could mess with hardware supplies for miners. Economic. Big picture economy affects investment. Crucially, TAO price swings impact incentives and Macrocosmos' earnings. Compute costs fluctuate. Report notes Macrocosmos is private, expanding, navigating funding.
Social, public perception of AI.
Yeah, public views on AI matter. Growing interest in decentralization is good for them. Community strength in Bittensor is a plus, but ethical worries about AI could bring pressure or bad PR.
Makes sense.
The report sees the Bittensor community's energy as a real asset supporting everyone on the network.
Technological feels obvious, but critical.
Totally. The insane speed of AI and blockchain change is constant opportunity and threat. SN1 depends on the main Bittensor protocol, so any issues there affect them. Scaling decentralized systems is always hard. Legal risks, things like data privacy laws, GDPR, who owns AI-created stuff, smart contract issues, future liability for what AI agents do.
And environmental, energy use.
Yeah, the report mentions energy consumption from AI training and blockchain is a growing concern. Bittensor isn't proof of work, but miners still need power-hungry GPUs. Source says Macrocosmos is apparently looking into distributed training, maybe to help to that. And these pestle factors, they interact, right? Like the report suggests navigating AI regulations, privacy laws, social ethics. That's critical for SN1. Their web search and data generation have to be careful not to cross lines or it could cause big problems.
And economics for miners super sensitive to TAO price versus electricity costs.
Exactly. The report points out miners are always doing that math.
Mhm.
Are the TAO rewards worth more than the cost of running the hardware? If TAO tanks or power costs spike, miners might leave, hurting the subnet's health and performance.
Okay, so how does the report suggest we actually, track SN1 Apex's performance, see how it's doing, what metrics matter?
The report says to look at public dashboards and Bittensor network explorers like Taystats. Key things to watch, it says, are the number of active miners and validators on SN1, the total TAO staked in the subnet.
Which shows confidence, right? People putting their TAO behind it.
Exactly. It's a direct signal of support.
Yeah.
And then various transaction volume numbers specific to what SN1 is doing.
What kind of transaction data did the source mention?
Well, it specifically pulled data from the SN1 dashboard over some 30-day period. Mentioned things like 19 million events, 1.1 billion completions, and this was highlighted 95 billion tokens generated.
95 billion. That sounds like a lot.
It is. And the report frames it not just as a big number, but argues that because SN1 focuses on high-quality hallucination-reduced output, that number is a strong sign of real value being created, especially since that data goes to train models on SN37.
Ah, so the token count isn't just noise. The report links it back to that internal data factory idea. Useful input for other AI.
Precisely. That's how the report positions it. Another metric mentioned is the trust scores for miners on the dashboard. These apparently affect how much TAO miners earn, meant to show how reliable their output is. Though the report does note the exact math behind the trust scores isn't fully spelled out in the source.
How does the report say they stack up against competitors using these metrics? Is it easy to compare?
Well, the report admits direct, real-time comparisons against, say, OpenAI. Using these specific decentralized metrics is hard, maybe impossible. But within Bittensor, you can compare SN1's numbers, staked TAO, active participants, TAO earnings, against other top subnets, especially other text AI ones like SN19.
And how do they look there?
The report notes that even though SN1 is a flagship, it still has to constantly compete for that staked capital within the ecosystem. It pointed out that in some testnet data, other subnets actually had more TAO staked at the time the report was written. Shows how dynamic it is inside Bittensor.
Definitely sounds like you can't rest on your laurels. What about the roadmap? What's next? Future potential.
The report points to that big rebuild in January 2024 as the major recent step sharpening focus on agentic tasks, integrating newer LLM research. Their stated goals, per the source, are still huge. Be proprietary models on quality, prove decentralized AI can be top tier, be a main entry point for new Bittensor users.
Does the report mention a specific, detailed public roadmap for this new version, like feature timelines?
No. The information provided doesn't seem to include a detailed, dated roadmap for specific future features of the rebuild SN1. The big picture goals are clear, but not a granular timeline.
Yeah.
Macrocosmos' overall vision, though, is massive, according to the report. They want to build the world's biggest distributed platform for machine learning. Plan is to do that by running and linking multiple subnets, SN1, SN9, SN13, SN25, SN37 get mentioned, and building their commercial stuff on top. That whole interconnected ecosystem is their long game.
What does the report see as potential catalysts, things that could really boost SN1 Apex?
Several possibilities are listed. Macrocosmos successfully launching and getting real traction with new products built on SN1, seeing clear value generated on Subnet 37 using SN1's data, landing major new partnerships or integrations, big tech breakthroughs in SN1's own agent capabilities, giving them a clear edge. Positive news for Bittensor overall, more businesses starting to use decentralized AI generally, and, importantly,
Let me guess.
the publication of a strong, positive, independent security audit for the SN1 code. That's flagged as a major potential positive catalyst.
And the upside potential if things go right, if they manage the risks.
The report suggests, best case, SN1 Apex really could become a leading decentralized hub for complex AI agent stuff and verifiable AI results. Macrocosmos could build a solid business mixing TAO earnings with real revenue from their products. That high-quality data from SN1 could become super valuable, maybe even licensed out, and the whole market shift towards agentic AI is a huge wave they're positioned to ride.
So the integrated multi-subnet strategy is key to the biggest upside.
That's what the report implies, yeah. SN1 working together with SN37 and others, that synergy is central to the analysis of their maximum potential.
Okay, let's touch briefly on market sentiment, community buzz. What does the report say about how people feel about Bittensor and SN1?
Well, for Bittensor generally, the report notes sentiment on places like Reddit. Twitter is often positive, lots of questions, active discussion. There's clear excitement about AI meeting crypto, talk about staking. The report even mentions interest from macro investors, people outside the usual crypto crowd, which is a strong sign.
But concerns, too.
Oh, yeah. Alongside the hype, there are always worries about complexity, potential scams, basic questions about long-term value, especially for newer subnets.
And what about SN1 Apex specifically? Does the report gauge sentiment just for them?
The source snippets didn't focus heavily on specific SN1 sentiment analysis from the public, but it implies Macrocosmos promotes SN1 positively on their channels, highlighting its features and flagship role. Analyst reports mentioned in the source from firms like Oak Research or Grayscale seem generally positive on the overall Bittensor model and recognize SN1's importance within it. That helps shape perception among the more informed crowd. Key narratives the report points to are decentralized AI as a real alternative to big tech, Bittensor as a leader in this space, sometimes called a neural internet, perceived pluses like transparency, open source, incentives, censorship resistance.
And the common worries they have to counter.
Volatility, obviously. Liquidity issues for specific subnet tokens, although SN1 is tied to TAO. And that risk of being seen as Ponzonomics if subnets don't create real external value beyond just shuffling TAO around internally.
So that Ponzonomics thing is something the report suggests SN1 needs to actively fight against.
Absolutely. The report notes that even for a top subnet like SN1, they have to keep proving real-world usefulness, creating tangible value that isn't just about the TAO cycle. Macrocosmos' commercial products are seen as the key way to do that. Show SN1 powers things people will pay for.
Still, the fact non-crypto people are asking about Bittensor, that's a powerful sign of potential growth.
It really is. And as a flagship subnet, especially with products like Apex Chat that people can actually use, SN1 Apex is kind of on the front lines for bringing those maybe less technical folks into the ecosystem. A good experience there could really boost wider adoption and sentiment.
Okay, let's wrap things up. Consolidate the risks and get to the report's overall conclusion.
Right. Risks. We hit many of them. Technically, huge risk of vulnerabilities, especially highlighted by that missing public audit. Ongoing struggle to scale decentralized systems. Threat of becoming technologically outdated if they don't innovate fast enough.
Economically, TAO price swings are huge, affecting everyone.
Yep. And for people staking in SN1 directly, the report mentions potential volatility and maybe liquidity issues with the Alpha Apex token itself, which tracks SN1's performance. Success or failure of Macrocosmos' commercial products is a massive economic risk tied to the subnet's long-term value. And again, diminishing TAO rewards mean they need that external revenue. The report also brings up governance risks, maybe Macrocosmos having too much control over SN1's rules, or bad changes coming from Bittensor network governance. Adoption risks fierce competition, maybe the system is just too complex for users or participants. Market risk, general crypto AI sentiment. And regulatory risks, big, evolving unknowns for both AI and crypto.
So putting that all together, what's the final investment take from the report?
Based on everything presented in the source material, SN1 Apex comes across as potentially very compelling, but no doubt about it, high risk, high reward. The report sees the innovative tech, the agentic focus, the verifiable output goal, flagship status, experienced Macrocosmos team tech. Those are big strengths, potential advantages. Building commercial products on top for revenue, seen as absolutely necessary for long-term survival as TAO rewards fade. However, the report is explicit. The single biggest red flag, the thing that kept coming up in their analysis, is the ongoing lack of a public, comprehensive, independent security audit, specifically for SN1 Apex code and its unique parts.
That's highlighted as the main concern.
It is a critical gap. Elevates risk everywhere, technical integrity, exploit potential, ability to win enterprise trust, plus the intense competition from everywhere is flagged as a major, constant challenge.
So the report sees huge potential upside, but it's balanced against some really serious unaddressed risks.
Exactly. The report implies the dream scenario is SN1 Apex becomes the leader in decentralized agentic AI. Macrocosmos build a thriving business on it. The nightmare scenario. Major security breaches, getting crushed by competitors, killer regulations. leading to significant value loss. So given the info they had, and especially given that audit gap, the report's final stance leans towards neutral, but with a cautiously optimistic outlook. They basically say it's only suitable for investors who can handle high risk and already understand the Bittensor ecosystem really well.
What could change that assessment, make it more positive, according to the report?
Key things they list: publishing that comprehensive positive security audit, showing real market traction, growing revenue from Macrocosmos' products, major tech advances that put SN1 clearly ahead of the pack, big strategic partnerships, or just sustained strong growth in SN1's key metrics compared to rivals, showing it's gaining dominance or confidence. And conversely, things that would make it worse. Still no audit, or worse, a major vulnerability found. Macrocosmos failing to sell its products, losing key people, a competitor clearly leapfrogging them, or tough new regulations hitting decentralized AI or Bittensor hard. The report concludes it all boils down to top-notch execution by Macrocosmos in a really tough, uncertain environment.
It's definitely a complex picture, but really digging into the source like this, it does bring the key tensions into focus. You see the massive potential the report describes decentralized agents, innovative tech like MSRV2.
And then you see the very real roadblocks, especially that critical need for proof of security via a public audit.
It really stands out.
Yeah. And what's truly fascinating here, kind of building on the report's analysis, is thinking about the bigger picture. What actually happens if or when a decentralized AI network like SN1 Apex, designed for these complex agent tasks, aiming for verifiable results, starts genuinely competing, capability-wise, with what the big centralized AI labs are rolling out?
Right. Forget just generating text. What does the world look like when you have these verifiable, decentralized AI agents that can actually do complex things, make decisions based on multi-step reasoning?
Exactly. What totally new things become possible when the AI's inner workings and data sources are, at least in principle, open to scrutiny. But also, what new risks emerge from a network of autonomous, decentralized agents operating in a complex system like Bittensor? Especially if that fundamental security layer, the thing the report flagged at the audit gap, isn't absolutely rock solid. It's a powerful question about where AI is heading, and it comes directly from this tension between potential and risk we've explored today based on this source material.
That is definitely a provocative thought to leave you, the listener, with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.